Okay, so for this, you certainly are going to want to have your contextual taskbar visible. So if it's not there, you're going to Window down to Contextual Taskbar, making sure that you see that taskbar floating around wherever it is. And before we do any manipulations to this photo, I'm actually going to back up and show you this previous image where we used the magic wand tool and we selected the white background and created a mask to hide the white background. And when I did that, I zoomed in and I showed you that it did leave kind of a haloing, or it wasn't perfect. You know, it left some of the white kind of around the edge of the blue shape, and I could have maybe feathered the selection more, or done some things to make that a bit more clean. But with these AI assist tools, more automated tools, they can do that same type of job pretty easily. And on something like a logo, I can just, in the contextual taskbar, click remove background, and it'll take just a second, and then now it did create a mask. So I'm going to click on the mask here. You can see it in the layers. That's the mask is hiding all the white parts. This is what the mask looks like. So anything that's white on the original image is being hidden. And you could go back into the mask and you could, reveal some of those white parts by manipulating it. But if you zoom in, you'll see that it does do a really good job it does a better job certainly of getting rid of any of that remaining white outline, where it's a lot cleaner around the edges of the form, where it's gotten rid of the background really nicely. And yeah, that's great. If you needed to do something like this for whatever reason, that's a good way to do it. Now back to this one. Similarly, from within contextual taskbar, I can click on, instead of remove background in this case, I'll click on select subject. And it'll make a really tight selection right around whatever it determines the subject matter, like a person in this case to be. And then I can click on remove, and what it'll do, it's not going to create a mask in this case, but it creates just a layer over top of the subject, using information about like what was surrounding the subject in the original photo, in this case grass and flowers and stuff. And it'll take that context, the cues from the context, and it'll come up with a solution for what would be needed there to hide the subject matter and make it sort of seamlessly integrate with the background. And that works pretty well. I think actually doing a manual selection first with your polygonal lasso tool, where you don't get quite as tight and precise on the subject, but you go around the edge and you give yourself a little bit of a margin there, where I'm including in my selection, some of the flowers and things, and not only selecting the guy in the field. And then click remove. We'll compare how it looks, right? So here is the one that was select subject. Here's the one that was, it's similar, right? And maybe it's even hard to tell, but I have seen it do a really different, better job, I think, depending on if you do select subject or select it yourself. So it's something to keep in mind, I guess. In the next example, we'll talk a little bit about how to take a more complex subject and use generative AI to remove something like this. Let me pause this video here, though, so it doesn't get too long, and we'll do that next.